All right, so that's sustainability of the profession. What I'd like to do now is hand over to Phil Slade, and Phil can talk about member engagement.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, David. Member engagement. So just focusing on member engagement for a little bit, and I suppose we've all been around the traps long enough to know engagement sort of falls into two categories. One focus area tends to be how do we get the current membership that exists within a group more engaged, or it's about how do we keep engaged to a membership that might be falling off or discontinuing. So when we have a look at a lot of the member value propositions, and there's been a lot of great work to date looking at the member value proposition, because we've sort of decided to focus on that part of the member engagement which stops disengagement, if that makes sense, rather than increasing current engagement of current members. So when we have a look at that, a lot of the research is around what is the value that current members get out of it in terms of the reason that you exist within a membership of an organisation. And the problem with that is that just tells us why people are here. It doesn't tell us why people aren't here. And so when we have a look at the data and the statistics, we see that there's two key points of disengagement. And disengagement happens in early career psychologists, and there's another moment of disengagement which happens later on in the career. But if we just focus on this early career disengagement, we think that we can get some really quick wins. And so from a member engagement potential, it's about building on what we've done and the knowledge that we've got, but also having a look at what can we provide in order to make it a good decision to stay with to organisational psychology rather than drop off. So the diagram we've got here is the start of a diagram. You should say, in the start of an investigation where we're looking at an early career psychologist. Generally, they tend to be between 20 and 24. They're very worked. They're on around between $70,000 and $80,000 per annum. And when you take out, you're paying off their HECS debt, paying off the house, with their financial constraints, that doesn't leave a lot of money left over. And so the decision that they've left with is that the money that I'm paying for membership to APS and to COP, there's a value cost benefit there that isn't necessarily weighed or say balanced by the benefits that might be there. In the past, we've gone, well, how can we cram more benefits in? And the reality is it doesn't matter how many benefits we can cram in, it doesn't seem to alleviate that financial pain that's there. But it also seems to be another pain there, which is they're at that point of going, do I go down that endorsement pathway? And the difficulty of being able to find supervisors and navigate the paperwork and navigate the system just feels complicated, as well as navigate their own organisation. How do they navigate their own organisation to pull all the parts together to have them pay for it, maybe not instead of themselves, etc. So we figured that provides an opportunity for us to create some value where it becomes a smart decision. It becomes a less loss-averse decision to stay with COP rather than without, because by staying with COP, we might be able to facilitate that decision, facilitate that process and create some value right at the moment where the disengagement is happening currently. Now to do this, we've got a plan to do a bit of a test and learn. So rather than going out there with a theory and just and trying to prove it out, we're wanting over the next few months to enter into a test and learn phase where we get a few early career psychologists, get some data around them, qualitative data, understand them a little bit better, build out this persona, but also then engage with some small business owners, niche owners of business who may be husband and wife duos or under 5 employees, mid-sized HR managers in mid-sized business, and a couple of large corporates. Primarily, we're thinking in a test and learn scenario, maybe big employers of all sizes like the Deloitte or the McKinsey's or a consultancy-based organisation, where we can just have get some insight around the different pressures and the drivers that sit between all of these players. Then also there's another key player in this scenario, which is the endorsed organisational supervisor. So if we can get a couple of representatives from each of these areas, we can start creating a bit of a test and learn where you can say, well, what if it looked at this? Would this change the way that organisations help hard people through an endorsement process, the endorsement process itself, and also alleviate some of the stress or the pressure that sits there for that early career psychologist, so that we can start increasing, or I should say decreasing, the disengagement of membership at that early career stage, which is where we see statistically a massive drop-off due to finance and other value pieces that we'll go into a little bit further.
Okay. Phil, thanks for that good application of your professional area of decision making. What I might do is move on now to Hayden. And Hayden, can you talk about your area?
Certainly can. Thanks very much, David, and thanks, Phil, for that story. I love the storytelling approach to that, to make something, there's data and stats, but making it come alive. So excellent. I've been really very excited and pleased to be involved with this project, the Enhancing the Reputation project. You've probably heard about it before if you've been around COP for the last year. We've certainly gone out on this before. But in summary, what are we doing? What's the purpose? The purpose of this project is all about increasing demand for org psychs, in particular amongst the business government world. So it's really about improving our profile, improving our reputation and our influence. We've done some work that I ran a town hall about 9 months ago or thereabouts earlier this year. The town hall group came up with a value proposition, which is really all about what differentiates org psychs from, say, HR, OD, L&D, and so forth. So what's the difference? And so the group came up with some really interesting definitions, if you like, and it boiled down to 5 key things that make us different and make us special. And so the first one was around evidence-based research. So we've really got a strength around that area. Again, if we compare ourselves to those people in, say, the HR, OD and L&D, if I just group those together, it's the strength of our research that is absolutely critical, not just what's the latest fad in OD or something, it's what do we know works. Second one, though, is balancing that out with pragmatic tools. So there's a whole bunch of tools that org psychs have that actually can come in and make a pragmatic difference. So it's taking the evidence research and grabbing some tools to really make a difference. The third one there is that something that's certainly grown in the COVID period, the whole wellbeing area, the experts in mentally healthy workplaces. So if you compare us there to, say, clinical psychs are experts in mental health, but not necessarily in the workplace. So for us, it's the combination of the expertise in psych, mental health, and the workplaces that's a key there. Something that came through pretty strongly in the town hall was this confidence and assurance through the APS Code of Ethics. Really important that we kind of leverage that. It does give us the credibility, and that confidence and assurance were the 2 key words that we used in terms of our connection to the APS, to being psychologists, and our strong code of ethics that, say, other practitioners that we may be competing against don't actually have that strength of that code of ethics. And the final one, again, this probably one makes certainly differences between us and, say, clinical psychs, but also us and the HR, OD people, is that systems thinking. Its ability to integrate and think in a systems level rather than thinking we've got one client, there's multiple complex systems going on there. So anyway, without going through in a lot more detail, there are a whole bunch of words and other things behind this, but there's 5 main areas that differentiate us. The reason for sharing this before I go into what we're doing is, in terms of our brand and our reputation, everything needs to link back to this to say, how are we going to demonstrate to the business world, government, and all of our potential clients that we're very good at these. So this is what we need to demonstrate in terms of how we articulate our strengths. So probably just the next slide, David. So basically, what have we done so far? After that town hall, we had about 30 people that actually responded and joined into that first town hall. Lots of interest, lots of excitement, and people wanting to join, which is fabulous. From that, we went and set up a project with project structure. There's a whole bunch of people below this that are involved, which is fantastic. So basically, Liz Payne has put her hand up to be the project manager, and Liz will talk to you in a moment about, you know, some of the actions we've already taken. But she's been fabulous, saying, I'm going to drive this. We've got a project administrator, Amy Louis, who's put her hand up, and she's helping Liz to make sure we're all coordinated and structured. And we've got 3 groups that are really working then on social media project, which is Rebecca Mitchell is the project lead in that area. And each of these teams has about 3 to 5 people underneath them, which is fantastic. Then you've got the university project leader, Erin Morrow, and then we've got the business and government project leader. It's currently vacant, so if anyone wants to put their hand up, Dia Day was running this. So we're in transition. Dia's got us started, which is fantastic. And we're now seeing if we can find somebody else to run that project. So what's fabulous is we've got a structure. The reason we needed this structure, we've taken a while to get to this point, is this is not something we can fix in a couple of months. This is something that needs to go on for a few years. So we need people committed to working on a whole range of things, chipping away every week for a few years, and then we'll really make a difference. So we've got a great structure that hopefully will last a number of years as we keep this project going. So I'm going to hand it over to Liz, who's just going to share some more detail around what we've actually done so far. Over to you, Liz.
Good stuff. Thank you, Hayden. Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all. Look, the social media group, as Hayden says, such a talented group of people working across this project. It's still early days, but I think the group that you will see the most immediate impact from is a social media group, which is Matt's on the call as well tonight, Rebecca Mitchell as well. Probably our target area, because it is for our clients, and is the LinkedIn space. So we've not traditionally done too much proactively with LinkedIn, and obviously that's where a lot of our customers and our providers actually go to. So rather than just focusing on a LinkedIn page for psychologists, which has traditionally been the way, we're going to broaden that reach and reach out a bit more broadly. So it's actually an information source and a platform that we would actually go to. From there, we'll spread that out. We're not going to do a massive launch or anything, so don't wait for a massive launch, but we're going to get more regular information coming through. And from LinkedIn, we'll be able to link out to other websites as well. It might be Facebook we're talking about, although there's certain restrictions there, maybe Instagram, and obviously we're talking about Twitter as well. Hayden's been in good conversations with the APS, so we are in communication with them on what we can actually do in line with the APS as well. And we do have set up some social media guidelines as well. They're pretty much what you would expect, and they are aligned to what the APS has in place already. In terms of the business and government, excuse my Jack Russell in the background. In terms of the business and government, Dee has done a great job getting this started. We're going to be working with the APS in terms of their existing relationships to start off with, and hopefully gradually make that grow. From a business point of view, we're going to be looking at relationships that we can have with organisations such as the AICD, where there's a natural synergy between us, and also working probably a bit more in the not-for-profit space, maybe the small business. We're really looking to ramp that up over the next few months. The university, Erin Morrow's not with us tonight, I don't believe, but Erin's been doing a really good good project working, liaising with Tim Bednall, Mark Wiggins as well. One of the initial things I would expect to see from that team is an introduction to organisational psychology coming out for the universities and potentially high schools as well, to ramp up that early stage career interest. I think that's enough for me. Hayden, did I miss anything?
No, fantastic. Thanks, Liz. Excellent
stuff.
Okay, grand. Thanks, folks. Might move on now to advocacy and Matt Henricks.
Thanks, David. First thing I would say is that with all of our work streams, there's an enormous amount of overlap between the two. So it's fair to say that everyone's involved in advocacy in one way, shape or form. I was particularly drawn to join the committee. I'm one of the newbies. I've been here for a couple of months, and you can see a couple of different projects we've been asked to input on behalf of the college for so far. The State Insurance Regulatory Authority, conducted a review in New South Wales, something that not many people would be aware of unless you work in the medico-legal space, and also some opportunity to input into the National Mental Health Workforce Strategy. Both of those documents really shone a light to me on something that I suspected and had kind of been warned coming into this, which is that the time frames are short that we're often given to input into these kind of documents, and B, that the quality and kind of level of draft that comes across our table is already quite high at the time at which we get asked to input. Why is that relevant? Well, it takes an awful lot of work to ensure that you're adding value and not destroying it when someone puts something pretty high quality in front of you, but equally some pretty late nights if it all falls on the shoulders of the fearless leader, which I suspect is the kind of thing that's happened in the past. So I was really drawn to be involved in advocacy, to in one word, to democratize advocacy to some extent, to bring a broader sort of diversity of opinions and perspectives to life in the way that we advocate on behalf of the college. And so what I was particularly looking to do, and what I'm kind of putting a call out tonight for, is I'm really keen to establish a bit of a process by which we can quickly respond to various advocacy opportunities, but also I really need to establish a database of members that are willing to assist. And so what I'm really calling out for today is to send whatever version of your CV you'd like, whatever's easiest to send. But if you're interested in being in a part of advocating on behalf of the committee, I guess I can't really, advertise much sexy kind of opportunities, but to some extent you'll get across some of the cutting edge stuff that's coming both inside and outside of the committee. But send through your bio and CV. Make sure you've got a bit of a sense of the kind of areas that you might be interested in contributing towards. But that's really all I can say with only a month or so in the seat.
Great. Thanks, Matt. I lost my microphone. Okay, on to Peter and CPD.
Yeah, thanks, David. I'm really pleased to be actually taking on this portfolio, and have been doing so for about the last month or so, and so still getting my feet under the proverbial desk on this. But I guess what I see as the primary purpose in this portfolio is to really act as the liaison between the state committees and the APS in relation to CPD activity. So it's really a coordination role, coordination point for the national and state-based CPD activities. In terms of what's currently happened, the primary piece of work at the moment is around the maintenance of the consistency and quality of CPD, and I'm currently working with the APS on their revised standards and their also revised CPD submission process that they're putting in place. And we've been out to a couple of the state chairs in relation to some current or upcoming activities that we're going to trial that particular what will be an online submission form, which hopefully will be reasonably easy to manage. But we're still working on that. And in terms of future plans, really, I guess, to just establish and coordinate regular national CPD meetings, but also making myself available, which I have done to a couple of the state branches in terms of attending their state meetings to just keep everybody up to date with where things are with CPD. So, and looking forward to doing that more so and contacting all the state chairs in relation to that in the next couple of weeks. So that will do me, David. Thank you.
Grand, Peter. Thanks for that. And over to our old friend, Tim Bednall, last but not least, Tim.
Thanks very much, David. And I'm going to be super fast because we certainly wanted to get into the facilitated conversations, just after this. So my portfolio is the Bridging Research and Practice portfolio. And essentially the purpose of that portfolio is to create, stronger collaborative relationships between academics and practitioners. As we talked about before, of course, one of the strengths of our profession is its connection to science. And so academics, of course, benefit by having connections to industry collaborators, especially on things like, linkage grants, and practitioners benefit from their connection to academics and research, through the scientific rigor that they bring. The key activity that we've got at the moment is the establishment of an academic advisory board, which is largely intended to give our academic members a larger voice, and also to connect them with other portfolios within the National Committee, and especially in things like advocacy and enhancing the reputation of organisational psychology. And also, I guess within this portfolio as well, we're going to be, looking to, new types of events that, we might be able to offer, to bridge those connections. Obviously earlier in the year we had, transforming work, which, was a bit of a new one for us, and, hoping to explore other types of events that might really facilitate those linkages. So I'll pass back to you, David.
Grand. Thank you, Tim. All right, so let's now start to move on to the small group discussions.